I found a second set of keys. They opened a room she made for us. Hook, keys are honest. They mean there's a door you didn't know about. The extra set appeared on our kitchen counter on a Tuesday, tagged 3B in neat block letters. The keychain was a hummingbird. My wife hates birds. I'm Alex, 36, IT incident responder, professional panicker on behalf of other people's networks. My wife is Lena, 35, florist who builds cathedrals from stems and tape at 6 in the morning and looks at sunsets like they're her competitors. We live in a fourth-floor walk-up with a heroic coffee table and routines that could pass inspection. Lately, our marriage felt like civic infrastructure. Necessary, reliable, not scenic. 3B. I held up the ring like I'd found a relic. Delivery studio, Lena said, slipping on flats. Temporary for staging, don't wait up. She kissed my cheek, familiar and careful, and left. Temporary applies for residency. I pocketed the hummingbird and spent 6 hours pretending not to think about it. At lunch, I checked the address and walked 10 blocks east to a pre-war brick with a stoop that taught patience. I told myself I'd turn around at the door. I didn't. The key worked. The studio was smaller than our living room and bigger than a breath. Minimal. Low table, 2 not matching chairs, a kettle, 1 plant, a throw the color of about to rain. No bed. On the table lay a notepad, blue hour rules. No phones after the kettle sings. No fixing. Ask 2 questions that cost you a little to answer yourself. Sit 10 minutes with eyes closed and call it work. Touch means I'm here, not I win. Underneath, hell. I wanted fury. The room refused it. It smelled like tea and clean decisions. A vase held 3 white ranunculus with the arrogance of silk. I was rehearsing a righteous speech to an empty chair when the door opened. Lena froze, jacket half off. 6 emotions crossed her face and sat down as relief. You picked the worst day to go through my pockets, she said. You left the keys like a headline. I held up the notepad. Blue hour rules. What is this? A room, she said. A room that doesn't ask me for anything. I can see the room. I mean from me. She leaned on the door. I rented month to month. When the shop is a hurricane, when my head is a switchboard, I come here to be a mammal. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I make a bouquet with 4 stems and throw it away. Sometimes I do nothing, which terrifies and saves me. Why not tell me? Because you'd fix it, she said, gentler than the accusation deserved. You'd move shifts, buy a chair, build an app called Lena Offload. I didn't need solutions. I needed a pause button with my fingerprint. I checked the corners for villains, the way you do when the problem is emptiness. None. Just a kettle about to sing and the hand I know from grocery lists, resting on the notepad. Jealousy arrived, late and loud. I'm jealous, I said, and the word made the air honest. Of a room. I am too, she said. Sit. We sat. The chairs remembered how to hold people. The kettle sang like an obedient soprano. She poured water with quiet ceremony. Steam wrote on the window and erased itself. Read me the rules, she said. I did. They sounded less like rules and more like whether we could choose. Ask 2 questions that cost a little to answer yourself, I read. Feels like a trap. A bridge, she said. Try me. No phones after the kettle sings, I said, and put mine face down. Why a hummingbird? It was by the register, she said. Also, anxious miracles. They drink sugar and don't apologize. Why blue hour? Because not everything needs to be noon. She smiled, small. My turn. What do you protect when you go quiet? The idea that not needing makes me good, I said. That if I'm not a problem, I deserve the room. Second, what does your body miss? Being reached for, I said, casually, a hand on my back at crosswalks, your foot on mine under a table. She placed her hand on my knee like the list had instructed her, ordinary and heroic. My answers, if you ask me the same, she said. I go quiet to protect the part of me that's tired of being a solution. My body misses being a plan, not a habit. We drank. The second cup tasted less performative. Were you ever here with someone? I asked, because my dinosaur brain needed its last snack. No, she said. I came with anything I didn't know where to put. Less scandalous than it looks, more necessary. She watched me. Do you believe me? Yes, I said, surprised at how quickly the word built a floor under both of us. She flipped the notepad and wrote Rule 5, invite him if he asks honest. She slid me the pen. I added, no keeping score. Then, if either of us says I'm embarrassed, we win. She laughed like a bag of chips opening in a library and moved her chair closer by the width of a hand. Tell me something you don't say at 7 a.m. with one shoe on, she said. I miss watching the ceiling with you, I said. How it felt like a third thing we shared. Lately, I stare at it alone like it owes me money. I miss your mouth when it isn't solving, she said. I miss the way you used to say later like a promise. We didn't fix. We made a small plan, blue hour together once a week. No phones, 2 questions. Touch as signal, not scoreboard. Leave the room as we found it. Don't turn our marriage into a lab report. Just make tea and sit. Take something home, she said, so we don't forget. The throw, I said, the color of about to rain. To remind us old places can feel new. She folded it like a diploma from a school that admits 2 students per life. Then she slid the hummingbird off the keys and handed it to me. For your ring, if you want a planned bird. We left separately and met again at our own door. The throw improved the couch the way a new song improves a room. We sat. The kettle, now our mascot, agreed to another performance. We didn't have sex that night. That isn't failure, it's a true chapter break. We touched hands and asked one question each. She, what noise do you secretly love? Me, the wheel of the paper towel dispenser when you pull too hard. Me, what does desire look like at the grocery store? She, your hand on the cart the way it knows where to go. We fell asleep with our feet touching like electrical outlets. The ceiling remembered us. Blue hour saved a Tuesday later. My server crashed. Her bride wanted peonies the universe hadn't ordered. We texted blue and blue. At 7:10 we were in 3B. We didn't talk for 5 minutes because silence hadn't argued with us all day. Then she asked, what are you carrying that you could put down for an hour? I put down my competence and let the chair do its medieval job. She put down the day's lemons and was briefly only a person who likes tea. We failed twice and called it practice, once with sarcasm, once with phones. Both times I'm embarrassed arrived before I told you so, and per Rule 7 we won. I started reaching for her back at crosswalks. She started standing behind me at the sink, chin in that groove between neck and shoulder that explains humans. We remembered the ceiling together. We kept the studio 2 months, then gave notice. We kept the rules. The throw stayed. The hummingbird lived on my key ring and made a small plastic joke each time I unlocked our door. When I wanted to fix, I watched evening find its shade. Blue asked nothing and gave back the room where my wife was. A postscript. I told a friend at work about 3B over coffee. He said, so you caught her. I said, yeah, trying to breathe. On a Sunday, Lena brought home 4 stems and threw them away with ceremony. We made tea, didn't check our phones, asked one expensive question each. We touched like a lighthouse, brief, true enough. We stared at the ceiling until it forgave us for neglect. The room felt like a door we had found from both sides. People want stories like this to end with a villain's zip code. I don't have one. I have a room, a set of rules, a throw the color of about to rain, a hummingbird clicking against my keys when I'm about to lock the door too fast. I have a wife who built a place to rest, and when I finally knocked, made room for me on a chair that didn't match anything and didn't have to.